Hello, this is Mario Rivero and
Samantha Sandoval.
we're gonna be talking about Romanticism and the incredible Walt Whitman as part of our final exam within the subject North American literature. So it can be said that we owe Romanticism to Germany and within it to two specific movements. The first one is Sturm und Drang, or Storm and Stress in English, which exalted nature, feeling, and human individualism. And Pietism, which is a spiritual movement related with religion. In terms of characteristics, three are the most important. Its philosophical foundation was idealism. That is to say, this movement had tendency to consider the world and life itself according to some ideal perfection and harmony models that don't match with reality. In other words, these models went far beyond what we know. There was the self in literature, or as we know, the cult of ego. Let's keep in mind that before this movement, the medievalism, which placed God as the center of everything, was developed. However, in Romanticism is different, quite the contrary, since passion and the liberty of creating predominate. It opposes to neoclassicism since it breaks classic rules. There is a unit neither of time nor space and action. Also, the beginning, development, and end are no longer necessary. Now the representatives, these are the main ones. First we have Victor Hugo from France. His novels include Les Misérables and Notre-Dame de Paris, and he also became leading Republican. From England, the Romantic poet Lord Byron with Don Juan, and Sir Walter Scott with his notable work Ivanhoe. And from the United States, Edgar Allan Poe with his extraordinary tales that explore terror and mystery. Also from the USA, the father of a groundbreaking new style of poetry, Walt Whitman.
Now let's make emphasis in this author. People call him Bard of Democracy and was considered one of America's most influential poets. Walt Whitman was born on May 31, 1819 in West Hills, Long Island, New York, and died on March 26, 1892 due to a pneumonia. He was a poet, journalist, and also worked as a volunteer nurse during the Civil War. He believed in the philosophic realism, which consists in considering objects as something apart from the man, even abstract objects. He also believed in transcendentalism, and this is an idea that wanted to combine the man's soul into the same context as the world's soul. He created and left an important legacy to future writers about his free verse style. His intellectual and literary ideas can't be categorized into any kind of style. However, we know that he lived through the Romanticism era, and most of his writing had a huge content about the transcendentalism. In 1855, Whitman self-published a slim collection of 12 unnamed poems titled Leaves of Grass. Leaves of Grass marked a radical departure from established poetic norms. Tradition was discarded in favor of a voice that came at the reader directly. That means it was written in first person. It didn't have any kind of rigid meter and exhibited an openness to playing with form while approaching prose. On the book's cover was an iconic image of the bearded poet himself. Some of his most popular works are Trump Taps, Memoranda During the War, Franklin Evans, Complete Prose Works, and Life and Adventures of Jack Engel. On March 26, 1892, Whitman passed away in Camden, but until the end he continued to work with Leaves of Grass, which during his lifetime had gone through many editions and expanded to 300 poems. Whitman's final book, Goodbye My Fancy, was published the year before his death. He was buried in a large mausoleum he had built in Camden's Harley Cemetery.